In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, we have another individual scouting report for you. And this episode is all about Zvonimir Ivišić, a guy that I really like. I still got all my stock. I actually would have taken him in the first round of the 2024 draft. But me and James are going to share our opinions on Ivišić. We're going to talk about his role at Arkansas and what he needs to improve on, and if he should have just came out in 2024. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, and my co-host for today is none other than my brother, James Barlowe. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, you only got a couple days. All FanDuel customers can bet just $5, just $5. And you can get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, just take it so long. What's taking so long? Please subscribe, like, share, comment. That is the best way we can grow this channel because it is basketball season and we are bringing NBA Big Board to you 5 days a week. Sometimes it might be 6. Sometimes we may give you 6 or 7 episodes in a week because we have a lot to talk about. Even though there's no games going on right now, we have a lot of prospects to cover, and this 2025 draft is going to be probably one of the more exciting drafts, and it's definitely going to be one of the more exciting college basketball seasons that we've seen in recent memory. And one of the players that I really like heading into this draft, I feel like he doesn't have a lot of buzz right now, which is quite natural because everybody's focused on the freshman class, but Zvonimir Ivišić was a player that I thought was the lottery pick at this time last year. Ran into, I don't even know what the deal was with the NCAA, why they were holding him back. I think he missed like 20 games or something like that. And then in his debut game against Georgia, I mean, he was everything that I thought he was going to be. Everything
he could have declared after that game, man.
He was. I mean, he had like 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals in just 16 minutes. And then after that, it was like downhill. I think he had like 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 3 for 3 from deep in like the first 11 minutes. He had a good game against Alabama. But other than that, man, he never caught his rhythm, was behind a few other guys, which shocking to me that he chose to go to Arkansas, which I think the situation it could be similar. So before I get into that, I want to ask you, James, is Zvonimir Ivišić the best returning big man NBA prospect in college basketball?
I can say that he is. If you factor in talent, age, skills, yes. There are a couple guys who I thought could have left last year. Yaxel Lindenberg. I thought Johnny Broome had an opportunity to get drafted, but those are older guys. I think Zvonimir is the best young guy that came back to school. So I agree with you there. And like you said, I would have left last year or at least tested because, like, well, why not?
What did you think about his transfer to Arkansas? And I guess there's some loyalty to Coach Calipari. I thought that, man, they got Trayvon Brazile.
Jonas, I think his last name is
I do, yeah, the transfer from Tennessee. So it's almost like, in my opinion, I think he's a lottery talent. I hope he has the opportunity to show that. And I know you're not supposed to duck competition and so on, but I think the front court is just as crowded as it was at Kentucky last year.
And we'll talk about him too, but I don't know the thinking behind him and DJ Wagner both going to Arkansas. But as far as Zvonimir goes, like, yeah, you could end up being in the same situation where you're not getting the opportunity to show your full, talent, your full palette of skills. And again, it's different because he won't have to sit the 20 odd games that he sat last year. But at the same time, like Jonas Idu from Tennessee, he's a 5th-year guy, like he can play. So you're looking at a best case scenario, and they're both like centers. And I know Zvonimir can shoot, but he should be playing the 5 full time. And Trevon Brazile is back too. So you're looking at a best case scenario of playing 26 minutes a game, if that. And it's easier for bigs, I guess, to showcase what you can do in a limited amount of time because you're playing off of people. But I'm just not, me personally, I'm not trying to share, especially when I can pick my location. I'm not trying to share like front court, back court minutes with anybody like that. Like I need all the touches that I possibly get, especially as a returning guy. But these are the choices that these young fellas make when they follow guys, in particular Cal to Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you play for Kentucky or Cal, you have to sacrifice. You're going to be on a team with a bunch of other really talented guys, and so it's not a school you go to if you're looking to get a lot of touches and put up huge numbers, because even if you're like the number one recruit in the country, you might be on the court with a guy that was the number 3 recruit in the country or the number 5 recruit in the country. And it worked out for Rob Dillingham and Reed Sheppard last year.
Hold on. But it wasn't supposed to work out for them like how it worked out for them, though.
But it did work out.
It did work out. But DJ was they were, if I'm correct, like they were the third and the fourth best, or the third and the fourth most talked about freshmen coming into that class. So it worked out for them, yes. But it didn't work out for DJ. It didn't work out for Justin Edwards the way that they thought it would or they were projected to.
And I guess you can attribute that to cream rises to the top. Even though Cal didn't start Dillingham and Reed Sheppard, it was obvious that those were the best options that they had there. And then, you heard the rumors like around this time last year in the summer that they were the backups were beating the starters. But back to Ivišić, yeah, I mean, I think that it was an interesting decision, and I think, you can probably go back and question a lot of decisions in hindsight that some of the prospects make as far as choosing a school and a coach. But I do think cream rises to the top. I do think that he is the best option, just because, we just talk about what he brings to the table. We're talking 7'2", or maybe even 7'3", depends on where you're getting your information from. I think his game fits the modern NBA. He has good size. He's coordinated. He can shoot. He's agile. He's got some toughness. He's shown some flashes of being able to create his own shot. I think he can block shots. There's a lot to like about him, and I'm just kind of shocked and stunned why he isn't getting the same, or he's not getting I don't want to say the same buzz, but why he's not getting a lot of buzz right now.
But again, like you said,
I want to ask you, do you think the reason why he's not getting a lot of buzz despite the skill set is because there may not be a clear path for him to show out at Arkansas?
3 things. It could be the clear path to show out. It's the limited amount of games that he played last year. And you think his best game or his flashpoint was his first game. And then, like you said, it was roller coasting, as Hellrail once said. And then you think about it's the freshmen, too. The freshmen are going to get talked about. The freshman big, there are good freshman bigs in this class. And you got international bigs like Rocco Zakarsky who's going to get talked about. Yep. So I think that's why you'll sit here and be like, I really not hearing the buzz about him. But like you said, the cream rises to the top, and he'll have his opportunity because he is talented. But will he get to make the most of the minutes? Will he be able to seize the opportunity? That really comes down to him, and not necessarily the coaching staff. You can control what you can control.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like the Georgia game was one of the flashes where he showed flashes of what he can do and what he can be. But to me, his best game was against Alabama. He had 18 points, 5 boards, 4 blocks. Then he had a game against Arkansas where he's at now, where he had 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal. I think he can stuff the stat sheet. And the reason I'm so high on him is because he is, in my opinion, one of the rare prospects that could be your vertical lob threat. He can be your play finisher. He can be your pick and pop threat. And he can be your rim protector. Now, whether or not he's a full-time starting center, I don't know. I don't want to make a European to European comparison, but I do think there is some flashes of Kristaps Porziņģis. what Porzingis can do. Porzingis can shoot. Porzingis can block shots. May not be, a guy that you can rely on to play the 5 in the most physical matchups. But I think in the right setting, and we saw Kristaps in a role in New York where he was the man for a little while. We saw him in a role in Dallas where, he was good. He couldn't stay healthy. We saw him in Washington where he was featured, but we saw how dangerous he could be when he was like the 4th option on a team, and he was a mismatch problem. And I think Ivišić could be a scaled down version of Kristaps Porziņģis. But before we get into your opinion on that and go a little deeper into his skills, I see you making the faces like like if you're listening on the podcast, James is making some faces like I'm tripping or I'm bugging, and you may agree. You the listener may agree. But before we get into James's thoughts on Ivisić's skill set and his NBA projection, I want to talk to you about FanDuel, because you've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot. And FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And FanDuel has something different for you now until September 22nd. You only have a couple days left. Just a couple days left. Now to September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. And all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So just visit FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. And once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, you got to check out the Locked On NBA podcast, because there is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from the national and the local experts, and you get it in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed or as entertained as Locked On NBA. It is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, you had some funny faces you were making when I made my Ivisić to Porzingis comparison. Now, Porzingis was the 4th pick in the draft, and I think he was like an all-star in year 2 or 3. I don't think that's going to be the same trajectory, but I do think that the Porzingis we saw in Boston, I think Ivisić can have that type of role for a team in the NBA.
Ivisić is mobile, even with bad feet, knees, whatever, legs, lower extremities. Is he as mobile as Porzingis is?
I think so. If you go watch some film from the U20s last summer, there was a play where he handling the ball, shooting pull-up threes off the dribble, spinning, dunking.
I'm talking about on defense, though.
I think so.
Okay. That's my biggest question when you compare somebody to Porzingis, because Porzingis is 7'3" with a burner, but he can defend in space well enough.
Which is weird because he's stiff. He looks like a 10-man robot, but he can defend in space.
And you heard what Anthony Edwards said about him. He was like, "No, that's the best shot blocker, rim protector in the league." Like he said, he was the one that he feared, and Anthony not feared, but that's the one that he respected. So that's my issues with that comparison. Is he mobile enough on offense? Being mobile, not offense, on defense. Being mobile on offense is different than being mobile on defense, because on offense you're in control of your movements and your reactions. Can you react to that guard and pick and roll hitting you with that in and out? Or, reacting to when a John Morant gets into his launching pad, which just happens to be a 1.5 feet into the paint. That is where the Porzingis comparison looks kind of funny to me, but we'll see if, you're right about that.
Well, I think Ivisić is a really good shot blocker. He averaged 1.3 blocks per game in 11 minutes.
Yeah, look, we're talking about at the NBA level, NBA spacing, NBA guards. Is he that kind of shot blocker, Ralph?
I don't know if he's that type of shot blocker.
That's different. Because in college you can stand in the paint. In college college coaches still give some of them give family man bigs the ball on the block to go make something work. Like I'm not knocking Ivišić as a shot blocker, but at the NBA level, is he going to be able to defend in space at a Porzingis level, like you say? That's my question.
I don't know. That's a good question. I want to hear your overall thoughts on Ivišić as far as like his skill set and how it projects to the NBA.
He has passing ability along with post play. And I think you need those two to make it work if you're going to be a offensive minded big in today's NBA. If we're just giving you the ball in the box and you're not, making plays out of it, good luck sticking, right? But I believe he has passing ability, which gives him the opportunity to be more than just somebody throw the ball to on the block, or even more than just a roll man, or even more than just a pop man, because he can shoot the ball from three.
Shot 37% last year.
Unlimited attempts, but he can shoot. So it's like I'm buying the talent. Like you said, I would have left last year. Hey, deal with it. That's enough film. And if they say, we need you to go back, you're not ready, you just go from there. I would have tested, especially in last year's draft with all the uncertainty that was there. And, but he definitely has first round pick talent.
Yeah, but for sure. I think that he would have tested well.
Oh, for sure.
I think he would have been a guy that looked really good in like a combine setting, because that's perfect for him to show like the shooting, how, basically his size. You get a chance, from, like a combine setting or a pro day, you can like see like, all right, this dude is like legit 7'2". You can see how nimble and agile he is. So I think he would have too, but it just makes me wonder, like, with all the rumors that you heard about the NIL money that was going to be pouring into Arkansas, you heard about the Tyson chicken coming through.
Yeah,
what was it, more financial?
But here's the thing, though, Raf. Do you want $2 million now, or do you want $8 million over 3 years?
Well, I think
that you're going to get that $8 million, which can turn into more money. And if you take the $2 million now and you don't pan out, like, what would you? That's my question with these kids and the NIL money. It's like, and listen to me. I'm old. I got gray hair. I get it. Financial security, I get it. And I definitely get it at 18 and 19 years old. But long term, is the money that you're making in college worth not getting? Is it worth delaying your NBA dreams?
I don't know. I mean, I saw I don't want to be wrong here. I think when Amari Bailey didn't get his option picked up by the Hornets, I saw like Coleman Hawkins made a joke like, stay in school. And Coleman Hawkins he could cash Amari Bailey out right now. So I think that I think that it's just a situation by situation or case by case scenario. I mean, for him, it could be like, I don't know what the money is. And I'm just speculating here. It could have been like, well, I know I'm going to get this right now. I know if I go to the NBA, I'm not a lock to go in the first round. I'll get more money. And I can see the mindset of, I know I'm going to come back to school and be better, because last year I got held back. The NCAA was holding me back, yada, yada, yada. So I could see.
All right.
I could see the thought process behind that.
Counterpoint. All right. Arkansas offers you, let's just say, $2 million, right? Just throwing that random number. I have no clue what his paid check looks like. I'm not counting his money. Arkansas throws you $2 million, but at the same time, Kentucky says, yo, stay for 1.2. You're the only big we have right now. Do you take the NIL money? It's $800,000. It's a lot of ice. That's a lot of Chargers or whatever you want to buy. Or do you take the 1.2 thinking that this 1.2 I can flip into first round pick money, which is probably $12 million over the stretch of your contract, depending on where you're drafted? That's the question I want to know if these kids are thinking about. Not just him, but there's some other ones.
I do think that there is some that you have to factor in. I'm going to go with the coach that recruited me as opposed to the new coach. All right, when we return, I'm going to dig a little deeper into Zvonimir's skill set, and then I'm going to just share what I think are some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses, and then we're going to talk about if we believe he can be a lottery pick. All right, last segment. I'm going to share my thoughts on some of the notes that I had on Ivisic. I have he has an excellent size at 7'2", really, really good promise as a shooter, and he showed that shooting 37% from three last year. I think the shooting stroke is legit. I think that he has good feel as a low post scorer. He's fundamentally sound. He can finish with both hands around the rim. Pretty good athlete. He's agile and nimble. He can push the ball up the floor. He's a guy that I think can get a rebound and push it, pass it, sprint the floor, and finish. I like his skill set. He's very, very skilled, and to me, that's one of the things that I really look for in a big. I think he moves like he doesn't move like your natural big. So I talked about him being agile and nimble. There's pick and pop potential. At the under 20s last summer, he shot like 74%. He has some plays where he finishes strong, has a little bit of nastiness in him, can be a lob threat. My concerns were that I thought he needed to add some weight. I thought that he can get pushed away from his spots pretty easily. I thought that the shooting was a little inconsistent. And even though there were some flashes as a passer, I didn't think that he was like a really, really good passer. So then when I was looking at his stats from Kentucky last year, on jump shots, he shot 42% on jump shots, which ranked in the top 92 percentile. On catch and shoot jumpers, he shot 41%. When he was left unguarded, now it's a very, very small sample size, but when he was left unguarded, he was 57% on unguarded catch and shoot jumpers. But then at the rim, he made 73% of his shots at the rim. Now it gets a little tricky. If you take the dunks away, it was only 55% of his shots in the paint. But he had 15 dunks. And so what are your thoughts on that?
The talent is there, but he doesn't have to shoot 38% from three because he's a big. If he shoots 33% from three on one attempt, two attempts, I'll take it. I don't need my center to be, especially my skilled center with, back to the basket game, roll game, all that stuff. I don't need him to shoot lights out from three. So if he shoots 33% from three on a healthy amount of attempts for him, which should be one or two, you'll take that. The paint touches, the 55%, not on dunks, that may be a concern. But again, that could be limited reps. Could be not training camp, but you missed some. He only played 15 games last year.
He had an illness too, I believe.
So maybe that's just timing, rhythm. So he has first round pick talent. Will he do it? That's just the question with him.
Yeah, and what's crazy? He got one post up last year. 0 for 1 on post ups. He shot 56% as the roll man, and then he shot like 66% on cuts to the rim.
Let me ask you a question. Who is the last big to get post touches for Cal was?
Julius Randle. That's all Julius was allowed to do.
Towns?
Well, yeah, Towns wasn't shooting threes. I just remember Julius played like he plays now with the Knicks in high school, and then he goes to Kentucky, and they were comparing him to Zach Randolph. I'm like, is it because he's dark-skinned and left-handed?
Yep.
Because had that man playing like a straight back-to-the-basket bruiser.
Right. So if Cal doesn't have, because the last set of bigs that he had,
I guess DeMarcus got post-ups. He had that.
Yeah, that's true. But but let's look at the recent ones though, right? Nick Richards, he was catching lobs and he was dunking the basketball. Who else did they have before that? I'm drawing a blank. But like
Stein wasn't getting post-ups.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein, he was out there just running and dunking. So is Cal going to play to his strength? And again, Jonas Adu is going to do everything that Cal wants his bigs to do. So,
well, I guess Trey Mitchell had to have post touches last year.
Trey Mitchell had post touches last
I'm
year.
guessing. All right, you know what? Let's talk about this. What does Ivišić need to do, in your opinion, to be a lottery pick in the 2025 NBA draft? You go first.
All right. So I'm going to fake extrapolate some numbers, right?
Dang,
They say,
can you spell that word?
yeah, I can do it, but not. I got to write it down.
You're on your Leaf Tulane out here using these TI
Let
words.
me pontificate that real quick. So he's not going to play 40 minutes a game, but his per 40, if that's what you like, was 19 and 11 and 4.5 blocks. Let's say he tops out at about 27 minutes a game because they have depth at his position. If he is a 13 and 7 with 2 blocks, that's good. And it looks good. I think that's good enough for him to put himself in the conversation as a lottery pick.
Yeah, I think for him, it's if he can shoot well from three.
And how well is well for you? Because I told you well for me, for my big, I just need 33%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely fair. But I think he has the talent to be able to shoot 36, 37, 38% on 2 or 3 attempts per game. I think he's that good of a shooter. Even though he's been inconsistent, like in some like previous leagues or whatever, but I do think that he has the touch to where he can be that good of a shooter. He shot 77% from the foul line. Again, not a healthy amount of attempts, but I am a big fan of the shooting and I'm buying into it. And that's why I've maintained all my Ivišić draft stock going into this year. So I think if he can do,
go ahead.
Let's say, I mean, it is, I keep wanting to say Kentucky. It is Calipari. So if he can do like 11 and 6 on 52, 36 shooting, averaging 2 blocks per game, shows the flashes of athleticism and toughness, I think that he can be a lottery pick. Because, and I've said it in multiple episodes, some of these freshmen are going to fall off.
You're not going to put no names behind it, though.
I haven't figured out which ones are going to fall off. I mean, I just went back and looked at like last year. Last year was a crazy draft, but in August I did like my big board 1.0, and there were like 7 freshmen that I thought could be top 30 picks that are back in school. And Ivišić is one of them. I mean, the Kentucky guy. So Ivišić,
Bradshaw, Wagner.
Yep. I was high on El Marco Jackson.
I was too, man.
I was hard on Garway. Then I'm trying to think who else. I had Omaha Blue, but I had him at the bottom of the first round. But it's in like NBA Big Board. It's on the article, but it was like boom or bust. And I thought he was going to be either or, and he ended up transferring to Wake Forest, which is, the place to go if I'm trying to rebuild my draft stock. But anyway, I just think that there's no way all of the freshmen that are in these mock drafts and lotteries are all going to live up to the expectations. Some of them are in schools or at universities where I don't think there's like a clear-cut path to get loose. For example, we talked about Isaiah Evans at Duke. Me and Leaf did. There's a couple North Carolina guys that
Carter Knox is at Arkansas.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So, and I like you were there when we saw Carter Knox at OTE. So anyway, I do think some of the freshmen are going to fall off, and I do think for him having a year of experience, I think that is going to help him out. And I just think that he is one of the I think he's the prospect that we're not hearing enough about. Because to me, there's a lot to like about his game. And I don't think there was anything we saw last year in the time that he played that will make you say, like, he's not one of the, if not the best big man returning in college basketball.
So the episode we did about Colin Murray Boyles, and you asked me, is Colin Murray Boyles the best sophomore coming back? And I was like, I got to think about that for a second. I like Ivišić more than Colin Murray Boyles for sure. Like, 100%.
Yeah, their productivity is going to be.
But it's not just about productivity.
Yeah, on opposite ends of the spectrum, at least what I'm guessing. But I do think that Ivišić has a more seamless fit to the NBA. There's not as many question marks about his position and his role.
And his size.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he spaces the floor, he can block shots. Even though CMB can block shots, I just think that he's a player that I could see him having like this crazy wide draft range of somebody really liking him and thinking that he can fit with their team and their structure may take him in the lottery. But he's someone that I could just see kind of falling because you can't put him into a box, which is not necessarily, a bad thing, but I do think it's a copycat league. And
for sure,
who is the guy that you can say that
if he were a few years behind Draymond, he would be like a top 15 pick, hands down, for sure.
Yeah.
But because there's such a gap between him and Draymond, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to take that 6'7" power forward that, doesn't space the floor. Draymond shot threes, but that's just.
But even then, I think Draymond is kind of like a point center, point forward. You can have him initiate the offense. I think Murray Boyles is more of a connector. But this episode is about Ivišić. All right. Give me your predictions, your stat predictions.
I told you. Well, I would like to see 13, 7, and 2 from him.
All right. Last question. If Ivišić is not a first round pick, what happened?
He got lost in the Arkansas sauce of minutes, and he is just not productive because he's splitting minutes with 2 other guys at his position.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, you go to the Locked On NBA Podcast. That's where the local experts keep you updated on all of the biggest storylines ahead of the season. You can find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. This is Rafael Barlowe with my brother James signing off. And in our next episode, we're going to talk about Ivisić's teammate at Kentucky and at Arkansas. We're going to talk about DJ Wagner. Pretty divisive prospect. I heard James make a little sound, which means he is not high on DJ Wagner. So I'm going to give him the platform to share his thoughts. Once again, it's Rafael and James, and we are out of here.